So we're joined for our final guest of the semester from Denver, Colorado, by my friend, the black female engineer herself, Nyaradzo Bere. We thank you so much for taking some time for us again, joining us for the second time. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We are currently in the STEM career cluster, our final career cluster here in our CCR class, which you have such a great hand in. And we thank you so much for taking some time to join us all the way from the Rocky Mountains today.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you all.
Awesome, man. We're glad you're joining us again. Now, obviously, we want to talk about all the things you're doing in the tech field. We want to talk about all the things you're doing as far as your content creation platform. But just give us a little background because you went to the University of Colorado and you got a degree in something that is not tech related, and you pivoted pretty soon after you got it. So your degree was in finance and accounting there at the University of Colorado. So take us through that process. And after you got that degree, what caused you to make that career pivot?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I started my college career in 2016. And so by the time it was time for me to graduate, it was spring 2020. And I believe a lot of us know what went down at that time. And so it was March, and I'm kind of a little bit drowning a little bit in all like my final classes and everything that I need to get. And all of a sudden, everything shuts down, everything goes pass fail. And now I had all of this free time out of nowhere. And I think a lot of us remember we were kind of trying to figure out what to do with this free time. Before we realized how long it would be, it was like, okay, cool. Like, let me spend more time with my family, with my friends. Let me learn new skills. People were learning to bake bread. And I was like, okay, I know tech and coding is something people have told me would be good for my career in finance and also just as in general, no matter the career I'm in. So let me just take this time to upskill and be even more invaluable in my finance career. And I just looked up some online free resources, started coding, and loved it immediately. I spent the rest of the week sleeping at around 4 in the morning because I did not want to go to sleep. I wanted to just keep coding so bad. And so from then on, I was just like, okay, what do I need to do to submit myself into this field? So did some research and realized that what's so great about tech, specifically coding and software engineering, is people don't really care how or where you got your skill sets from. They
There
just
you
care
go.
if you got it. And
There
so
you go.
I was like, okay, cool. I can do a mix of self-training. I also decided to go to a coding boot camp because I realized I need a teacher, even though it's absolutely possible to self-teach. And 6 months later, I got my just stunning six-figure offer at a Fortune 50 company and started showing up online and sharing with people what is possible for them if they went towards this type of career, but not only like if they went this towards this type of career, but that they can in the first place. Like, hey, this is an option for you, no matter what your background is. I just want to let you know what your options are because I feel like when we're looking at the careers different people have, especially different demographics of people, a lot of the times it's based on what they saw growing up or who was in their
Okay.
circle or what was told to
Absolutely.
them. And so I just wanted to provide a way to just simply share this information. That way, if you're deciding to go to a different career, it's from an educated place of knowing what all your options are.
Yeah, and I love it because I'm always about giving options, and I do want to talk about those entryways into tech. But real quick, I want to talk about University of Colorado, large, big football school, big in a I think about 20,000 students, and we have a lot of students that say, "I want to go to Mississippi State, I want to go to Ole Miss, I want to go to Jackson State." Big student bodies, a lot of sports and things going on, and all that's great. I'm a big college
Mhm.
sports fan. But we're a small community, and even me going to a big high school, I tell this story all the time. When I was at University of Southern Mississippi, I was in a class with 300 people,
Mhm.
and there was literally a guy in that class I had known my entire life. I did not know he was in there until the last day. It is that easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So if these kids, and look, again, we're all about giving these kids options on making the best decision for their family and for their situation and for their passion. But going to these big schools, going to any school, it's important to have the grades, but you've got to build a network. You've got to know people. You got to get involved in student organizations. People have to know who you are. So, especially if you want to go to a large, I know they're the Big 12 now, but at the time they were the Pac-12,
Yeah.
a large, major sports conference school with 25,000 students. How easy is it to get lost in the shuffle, and how important is it to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with what you're saying, where the bigger you go now, you're an even smaller fish. And yes, you can very easily get lost in it. What I will say, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask for this because yes, University of Colorado is tons of students. I believe my class, my 2020 class was about 36,000 people. I mean, like the undergraduate class at the time. And so for me, a little bit of background, I grew up not in of the most wealthiest of, places, backgrounds, etc. My mom, I've always grown up, she is a nurse. She's always had two jobs, and that was just and still has been my reality. However, me growing up, I was kind of, like you're a kid and so you want to like go to the flashy schools and things like that, so I applied to schools all around the country, but it became more and more apparent that we couldn't afford those types of experiences, those types of schools. And so University of Colorado being my home school was the cheapest option. And not only that, I was able to get quite a bit of scholarships to
Wow.
really offload a lot of financial strain. And one of the scholarships I got was from the Office of Diversity Affairs, which is
Wow.
particularly in the business school at University of Colorado. University of Colorado is one of the least diverse places you'll ever encounter, especially the business school. The population for Black students was less than the other. And so the Office of
Wow.
Diversity Affairs was only in the business school, and it had a group of, I want to say maybe I'll say maybe 50 of us throughout the business school, like year by year. And they did a phenomenal job of providing us community and providing us a safe place to go. So there was a physical community where we could spend our free time and things like that, studying or getting tutored by the other senior members and things like that. But also, they made it so that in our classes, we were with each other. And so it felt a lot more diverse
Yeah.
than it really was. I say this all to say this was my experience my entire 4 years. And so because of that, I loved my experience and I wasn't a small fish in a big pond, really. It was just us. And I, through that, was able to get amazing connections. They provided us mentors throughout the faculty. So my mentor was basically like the senior, whatchamacallit, the senior professor at the business school, ex-IBM, vice president, X, Y, and Z. So I say this all to say it definitely is easy to get lost in the shuffle. However, there are ways to proactively make sure that that doesn't happen by making sure
Absolutely.
you're targeting schools and programs where there is additional support. At the time, I didn't realize that's what I was signing up for. I just needed some cash and they offered that. But there are ways to proactively make sure, hey, like what type of support and community is provided at these schools, especially for, yeah, a woman of color at a school where there is honestly not many of that. So I would just encourage through the college visiting experience and the application experiences, call up the student affairs offices and just ask them. Usually just a person picks up and you get to just talk with them one-on-one. And the student affairs office is very whatchamacallit, they're very good at talking with students because they want you. So
Oh
that
yeah.
is I would recommend. Yeah.
Big time. Now, obviously, you've since built a brand since then. The Black Female Engineer on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You're over around 300,000 followers worldwide right now, and growing every day. And it's really cool because, and like we said at the beginning, I've had tech people on the same platform tell me out of their own mouth. I don't care if you have a degree. I want you to have the certification. I want you to have the experience, and I want you to have the willingness to learn this business. Now, are we
Right.
telling people not to go to college? No. Again, it's all about kids making the best decision for their family, the best decision for their passion, and the best decision for what they really want to do. But you just said it. And I just said it. If you want to go to tech, we have a lot of kids that are like, look, I want to get into this field. I'm not really a college person. They could go to the community college and get the career certificate and start working in the field at 19 years old. Our own Madison County Career and Technical Center here in Madison County schools, they can get IT certifications before they graduate high school and get into the field immediately. So for kids that maybe want to go that route, this is still a viable route for them to get into this field.
It absolutely is. Really, the main things like you're saying is making sure you're capturing the skills that employers want right now. What that was 5 years ago is very different from what that was today. So even looking at my own experience, when I was learning 5 years ago, if I wanted to get into the field now, I would have to have a completely different curriculum, but the system is still the same. You need to learn, you need to showcase your learning through portfolio projects, and you
There you
need
go.
to get yourself in front of the right people by going to conferences, events, talking to people on LinkedIn, etc.
Yeah, and you've got a great website, theblackfemaleengineer.com, where you've got a portfolio on there, and you have some free resources that we will definitely share for kids that want to build a resume, that want to build a network, that want to see how to showcase their work in the tech field. Now, obviously, we got to talk about your content creation because you have literally gone nuclear viral in the last few years. You have views up in the several hundred thousands on several platforms, and you over 2 million engagements a week or a month, which is still quite impressive because I have so many kids that say, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a YouTuber. And it is not just let me flip on the camera and start recording. So obviously, you built a great community. And look, you've used your platform to be positive. I always say to these kids, find somebody online that's going to be positive, that's going to help you. Find somebody's going to give you some career advice. And look, I like following celebrities. I'm a big sports fan. I like seeing what all they're doing, but I also like to get things that are going to help me and give me some advice. So you've chosen to use that platform that has taken off all over the world, and it's been so great to see growing every day. And we're glad to have you as a part of our platform. But for kids that, are even interested in part-time content creation, it is not near as easy as it looks. So talk about some of the challenges of content creation because it is not just let me film all day and put it online.
Yeah, I will say, and we can go through this through follow-up questions as well, because the challenges I had my first year, second year are definitely different than the ones I have now in my fifth year. But in my first year, I think the biggest problem is getting over the fact that no one is watching. You know what I mean? Like for me, the main goal, the main goal for me was, okay, I need to just share my entire journey so that people can just go. I started on YouTube, so people can just go on YouTube, watch these 20-minute videos, and get the true step-by-step blueprint, and that is it. And so, because that was my main goal, it was easy to get over the fact that literally, like, oh, I have less than 100 subscribers or X, Y, and Z. It's so much easier to get over that because is the point isn't virality. It isn't to gain this audience or to even make it a career at all. It's just to share your knowledge and hope that someone can see it
There
and
you
take
go.
in that information. And so that's my biggest advice for starting out is you need to have a like gaining popularity needs to be the third or fourth reason you want to do content. Money needs to be the third or fourth reason you want to do content. You need to have at least two reasons above that because that's the thing that's going to make you keep going. Because honestly, if it was getting popularity, if it was making money, I wouldn't have made it to year five where I am now because for the first 3 years that didn't look like much. I'm not gonna lie to you. So that would be the biggest struggle for starting out. I'd say now at this point in my content creator journey, the biggest struggle is just figuring out how to allow your content to grow with you, right?
There you go.
Like I'm no longer at a coding bootcamp. I'm no longer learning like how to get into tech from scratch, but that information is still necessary. So trying to have this balance between sharing things that are relevant to me now, while also making sure I'm still providing useful tips and insights to people. Luckily, AI came, and now I get to talk about me actively learning AI
Yeah.
as a software engineer because being an AI engineer is a whole different, not a whole different, but yes, it requires different skill sets. So now I've been pivoting through that journey, so I get to make content like that in the same way I did 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and something that I think that was really cool that you did is I have so many kids that say they want to live in the big cities. You have a great series of videos about your transition into Los Angeles and then your transition to New York because this career is literally taking you to both coasts. And I think
Hmm.
it's so cool. You know, you said yourself you're the daughter of an Ethiopian immigrant and first generation American, and you've been able to see all these big places that most people would not get to see. So it's really cool to see that. And I know your mom's so proud. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Just to clarify a little bit, so I am the daughter of a Zimbabwean immigrant, and
Oh, I'm
also not
sorry. I'm
only
sorry. I got it wrong.
no,
Yeah, I knew.
no
Yeah, that's
worries.
right. Yeah,
But at the same
Zimbabwe.
time, I'm actually not even first generation American. I was born in
Okay.
Zimbabwe.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yes, and so we moved here, we moved to New York when I was 4 years old. And
Wow.
so just I say that to say I understand there might be some hurdles that each of your students are experiencing. I do want to make sure you all understand where I'm coming at it from. Like, no, like I was in a whole different situation. This is how I grew up, where I was born, and like this is how I got here. So I really do want to provide that context.
And I apologize for getting the country wrong. I knew it was Africa, but my fault. I question
No
my
worries.
intelligence daily. But I do have some questions here from the students, and these are really good. So I'm glad they're thinking about this. This first
Ooh,
one is Cameron Nettles. He's in 10th grade, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, was it hard to learn coding, and what language did you first learn?
that's a very good question. Hi, Karen. I appreciate that question. So, what I will say is it was hard in the sense of learning new things can be difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was difficult to have to really expand my mind in that way and to make myself keep on learning so that I can get a job after all of these months. However, it wasn't hard to show up. What that's the thing I'll say. Sometimes not only is it hard to learn, but it's also hard to just show up and log on, which really stunts your learning and things like that. It was not hard to show up. I loved coding. I loved learning new things, and I found it very exciting. And so it helped that helped a lot. And what was the first language I learned? I learned JavaScript. That was the first language I learned.
Yeah.
Well, if you really go back, first thing I learned was HTML, but technically that's like not a language. But yes, that was the first thing I learned. I loved HTML. It's basically what is responsible for the text and images you see on a
Yep.
screen. And so loved HTML, then moved on to CSS, which is the thing that's responsible for the styles you see, the colors, the fonts, the interaction. And so because I loved those two things, especially because with those two things, you learn and then you see the impact of what you just created immediately. You just refresh your page and immediately you see the impact. So it helped me learn a lot easier seeing that immediate feedback. And so because I love those two things, the natural progression was JavaScript, the like first real language.
Awesome. I like this one. This is Landria Wilder. She's a senior, our student council president here at Velma Jackson, going to the Mississippi University for Women in the fall. Gonna study nursing, and we know she'll do great. But she has a two-part question. She asks, "What are some of the best experiences you've had working in the tech field, and what advice would you give to a young black girl who's interested in this field?"
Oh, I love that. Also, huge congratulations. I'm so excited for you to start college there. Um, I would say the best experiences I've had in the tech field is seeing who I can talk to through my not only content, but just by showing up in my job. The first notable person I got to talk with was the CEO of Comcast NBC Universal.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was just Yes, it was phenomenal. I got to interview him for an event, and that came through just being liked at work and my hard work being shown and things like that. And during that interview, he said to me I should consider a career in broadcasting. And so I decided to really hunker down on my content. And through that, now I've gotten to meet and talk with so many different people in so many different places. I just met with the COO of GitHub, which is a like if you became a software engineer and a coder, this is what you spend your time with every single day. And it's a Microsoft company. And so that was really cool as well. So that would be the main thing, seeing who I get access to and get to talk with because of the mix of both tech and content. And then what was the second question?
What advice would you give to a young black girl interested in this field?
Honestly, the advice I would give is to see if you love it first. I think I am not in the business of telling people to suffer. And if you see that tech is just not something that lights your heart up, then maybe a different career is better. I see that you're going to school for nursing. Maybe that will be the better fit. But I would first see if you love it. And make sure the process of seeing if you love it is one that you just spend time on. So when I was first learning, I tried to learn with Python, the language Python, and it was awful. Like I couldn't understand why everyone was saying, make sure if you're learning to code, like this is the easiest language to learn. This is the one you learn with first. It was awful. Anyone who says that, they went to school for computer science or something. They didn't self-teach from the ground up, in my opinion. Because the issue with that is learning a language like Python first, you can figure out what they're saying, but you don't understand what the point is. You can see like, oh, if four plus four equals eight, cool. But like, what do I do with that eight? Like, when will I have to calculate four plus four? It just didn't make sense to me, which is why when I moved over to learning HTML and CSS, things just clicked so much and I really loved it. So have patience in your journey to see if you love it. And then once you see you do, now let that be your guiding star.
Awesome. Well, I got time for two more. I like this one. This is Erin Gaines. She's in ninth grade, and she asks, is being an influencer stressful knowing you have to create content to keep engagement up?"
Yeah. I would say yes, it can be stressful once you cross the line from making content just for education to making content to also sustain yourself because now you're like, okay, cool. The more I make content, the more companies like Microsoft and LinkedIn want to work with me. You want to keep that up, but that becomes stressful because if you don't post for 3 days, now there's people knocking down your door saying, where is she? Like, where's my daily X, Y, and Z? Which is amazing because you learn that you become part of people's routines in that
Yeah.
way, and people are relying on you for their own career goals. So that's phenomenal. But it is a little bit stressful, and it's actually made me stop using social media as much, like in my leisure time. Like, I don't scroll, I don't really watch TikToks or Instagram anymore because when I'm scrolling, now all I can think about is like, oh, like I can do a video that says this is this, or that video went well. How would I switch it for my niche? So I said, say yes, it does become stressful, but it's also, I believe life is about the problems you want, and this is a problem I want.
Yeah, that's definitely a great problem to have. All right, I got one
Mhm.
more. This is Cortez Maxwell. He's in 11th grade, and he asked, "What's the biggest challenge you've had to face, not only as a content creator, but as an engineer, being a minority in both fields?"
Oh, that's so funny. That's interesting. Okay, so I'd say the biggest problem I had to face, I'll answer them separately and see if they match. Let's see. So the biggest problem I had to face as a software engineer, especially as a Black woman who's a software engineer, was primarily navigating work politics. So growing up
Ooh,
where I've grown, like how I've grown up, you understand the disadvantages of the world. You understand that the world is not fair and that, things impact other things. And it was I did not do a good job at ignoring that while at work. For example, there would be, let's say, a event at work, and there's a speaker like she was like the global environmental head of Comcast and everything, and basically just talking about their efforts on the environment and whatnot, which is a big topic for underrepresented communities because the environmental shifts, climate shifts affect those communities first. And so just the questions I was asking, you could tell made her upset and made my boss upset because it's like, why would you ask her X, Y, and Z? And the way I grew up, it was, no, I'm going to talk about these things. I'm not going to ignore the disadvantages that I have, that other people have, my friends, etc. I'm not going to ignore that. I'm going to hold you accountable. And so that was absolutely the hardest part and still is when it comes to corporate in general, not only as a software engineer, is moving through politics. I'm not good at it. I don't do it, and that's just what it is. As a content creator, I'd say the hardest part, honestly, and I wish it wasn't. I wish I didn't care about this as much, but it's seeing the engagement that I have versus the engagement, let's say, a white male or even a white woman has, and seeing them have triple the following that I do. That's honestly the most disheartening thing because it's like, okay, it's easy for someone to like something without thinking, but to choose to follow them is the decision to say, I trust this person, I want to see this person around. And to see that even though I have the same or more engagement than other people, but they choose to follow them more than me, can be very disheartening. But at the end of the day, what I remind myself is I get to have insane engagement and insane community of people now, people who truly ride for me. And that also lends itself to better and more career opportunities, more lucrative career opportunities, because if people outside see the engagement that I have in my community. So at the end of the day, it works out, but I would say that's the most disheartening thing about being a Black female software engineer and content creator.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple of things before we go. First of all, the Black Female Engineer is the handle on all social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Great content. I encourage everybody to go follow you. I'm a follower. I enjoy seeing it, and I'm not even a tech person, but seeing the life in the big city in New York, it really gives a perspective of what it's like, kind of the things you do. You're able to work remotely a lot, but it really also shows that you are also on the grind. So I encourage everybody to go follow you there on all platforms. Also, the blackfemaleengineer.com is your website. Great free resources there for everybody, even for non-tech related, help to build a resume, help to build that professional network. But the last thing before we go, we talked about the multiple entries into this field. And look, tech is not going away. More and more things are becoming tech. Every company has a tech either person or a tech contractor. The restaurants we eat in, the hotels we stay at, the cars we drive, the schools we go to, they're going to have tech people. So why should these kids really consider learning these tech skills now and maybe consider getting into this field, even if it's like a hybrid type thing, because it's here to stay.
Yeah, it would honestly just be because of that, because it makes you needed no matter where you are. And not only the industries you're in, healthcare, education, hospitality, but also just talking with your friends and talking with your family. I've created products for my friends and family because they're looking to start a small business and they need a website and they need a system for getting orders, etc. So it's really cool being that aid to your family. I find that once you are in tech, you are now able, you know how you hear like people say like, oh, we need a doctor in the family. Make sure you also have like an accountant in the family. Now you get to be the software engineer in the family who gets to really help your community
Yeah.
in ways that it truly makes a difference. So if for nothing else, it would be for that.
Love it. Well, again, we thank you for getting up early for us out there in the Rocky Mountains. But my friend, Nyaradzo Bere, the black female engineer herself, all the way from Denver, Colorado, we thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
No, thank you so much, Greg. It's been fantastic chatting with you. And no, I'm really excited to see where this class goes.
And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will definitely talk soon.
You as well. Thank you.
I see ya.